Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Thank you very much, Dr. Purohit and Professor Hugh, Professor Dev, and the students. Basically, this is a topic that we'll talk about world energy scenario, India perspectives, fossil fuel renewables. What I was telling your professors that basically I deliver some of these lectures in various professional forums. But then I would like to, because you're all students and students from probably first year, so I would like to tune down, and if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. Because I can speak at a very high level, and if it doesn't, if you don't understand, it doesn't serve any purpose. But I don't have to prove anything today. Okay. So basically, please, feel free, ask questions. Even if you get 5% of this, it will be, you'll remember it for quite some time, and it will be beneficial to you. So that's why it's a very popular kind of a thing. And in addition to this, I also have a small presentation on oil and gas exploration where I spent all my life. I don't know how much time we have and how it works out. If it works, we'll do that. If it doesn't, we'll stop here, right? Because what is important is that you assimilate. Okay, that's more important than my delivering one after the other talk, right? So, energy is something which is always related to GDP growth. You have heard about GDP growth, and every year there are political fights, every year you hear all that. Okay? So GDP actually measures, not fully well, when you talk of economics, GDP is something for economic terms. It's not exactly an exact science, the way physics is. So there would be some arguments about it, but yet GDP is a measure of growth. Now GDP growth can happen in a country because of two reasons. One, you start with new projects, or you improve on the projects and improve your efficiency. Okay? Now if you see the world GDP growth, if you see that curve over there, the curve is pointing upwards, the world, at the end today. What it means is that the world in this last 1 year or so, or 2 years or so, after the fall somewhere in 2010, is now recovering. Right? The major fall was in 2010, we had a major financial crisis. Okay? After that, it's recovering. Now when the world recovers, it needs more energy. Right? Because anything in this world, anything you do needs energy. Without that, you can't. And I hope you understand the definition of energy from the classes on, right? So let us see how the world's energy is. The global energy demand grew by 2.2% in 2017. Forget about numbers. Just keep an idea that when the GDP grows, the energy requirement grows. That's the basic thing. And where are the energy coming from? The energy is coming from one, fossil fuel and maybe renewables. And let us see how they are and how much of resources do we have. Because what is important for you is that you have a longer life. We are oldies, so we are not going to stay here for long. But you are going to stay. Is there enough energy in this world so that you grow up and there's enough energy for you? So you must be concerned about it more than what we are concerned about, right? And then you can blame us that, look, the older generation, you finished up all the energy and went away. So it shouldn't happen like that, right? So the oil demand grew by 1.7, but the 10-year average is 1.1, right? So that means basically the growth was more than what was normal, right? So, and this is the price of oil. The natural gas with consumption of this and production of this both increasing. The point that is important is gas consumption increased, coal consumption increased, oil consumption increased, and solar capacity increased by this much, and China contributing maximum 50 gigawatt. For a moment, think about the world. Don't think about Delhi and Gautam. Put your vision across the whole world and think about the whole world as your own place. Then you can visualize and understand this lecture better, right? So essentially what I am trying to say is that when GDP grows, energy grows. Very important point is the LNG. You know what is LNG? LNG is liquefied natural gas. Now what happens with gas is, unlike oil, you cannot store gas. You have to, what you do is, you actually liquefy it. And when you liquefy it, you can transship it. Like today in the world, Japan imports maximum LNG in the world. Earlier, Korea used to be number 2. Today, China has become number 2. So the amount of LNG it is importing is very high because of that. Okay, Korea is probably number 3. So, and these are all they are advancing. China is advancing at a very, very high rate. Their economy is 5 times that of India as of today. So basically, if you see that way, the other interesting thing is China's of 100 gigawatt, where the world's solar energy went up, 50 gigawatt went up in China. That means 50% of the world's increase in solar came from one country, China. So what it implies is China is very concerned about its environment. You see that? That's very important. That means because they have increased LNG, they have increased coal. They have increased solar. Okay. The dirty fuels are coal. The dirty fuel is oil to an extent. Clean fuel is gas and renewables. They're the cleaner fuel. Right? Now, I'll talk about coal later as we move on. Now don't forget about all these statistics. Important point which you should remember is, whatever one might say as on today, oil consumption, gas consumption and coal consumption are much greater than renewables or anything else. You see this curve? You see the green color? Green color is oil, red is gas, and in the topmost grey color is coal. So these are the major energy producers even today. So the contribution from renewables which you need for the world to sustain, for you people to survive, is not yet taken up. So whatever anybody might, these are the facts, and these are taken from British Petroleum Statistical Digest. They come up every year, and this is the data from that. So it's a very valid data. It's not cooked up by me, right? So if you see this kind of thing, it's a matter of concern that in spite of the growth in solar energy, the solar energy's contribution to the overall energy basket is yet very small, right? Okay, solar, wind, biomass, and all the other kind of renewables. Nuclear also. Their contribution is very small yet. Okay. Now, this slide I slightly missed. I'll talk about the next slide maybe. Fuel consumption by region. Now you see coal. Look at the coal. The dirty fuel is coal, right? The dirty fuel coal is consumed maximum by Asia Pacific. You see that? That is why you have so much of pollution in India and China. They are fighting now, but yet as on today, because industry cannot change overnight. You see, if you have plants and everything done over here, you can't change the entire engineering one day. It takes time. It's a gradual process. Whatever one might say, the fact is it will take time. So as on today, the amount of coal which Asia Pacific is using is far greater than any other parts of the world. That is the point which I am trying to make. Okay, so we need to be concerned about our pollution. We need to be concerned about how to use clean coal technology. In India, we don't use clean coal technology. Our coal has ash, and there is something called clean coal technology, where you can do what is called carbon sequestration. You know what happens is, you can capture carbon. Any fossil fuel you burn, you get carbon dioxide, right? So if you can capture carbon or carbon dioxide and sequester them into the earth, then you can save this planet. So, but to do that, and maximum carbon dioxide is emitted by power plants. Most of the coal is used in power plants today. So if you can capture carbon dioxide at the power plants and sequester them into the earth so they can't escape, then you can have a better, that's called clean coal technology. Apart from the other methods also of using supercritical boilers and all that. Okay, so the issue is that how do you do that? Because when you do that, your power rates will go up. When the power tariffs goes up, our politicians will start shouting, right? But if we don't pay for it, we are going to suffer tomorrow. And we haven't yet in India haven't yet started any major carbon sequestration till today. Well, and technology is known. It's not that it's not unknown, it's known. Okay. In fact, to some extent China has started it, but we haven't yet started. Okay. Now, if you see the fossil fuel consumption over the decades, this is all till present. Okay. You see, oil was used much more. Over time, oil, coal and gas, the consumptions are by and large same today. By and large they are same. So the energy mix has changed with years. And this energy mix is extremely important because through that only you can fight pollution. Right? And the other important point is to see the slide in the down below, that is your renewables. The renewables, which I was trying to say, is still insignificant. See how much it has gone up very marginally compared to what you have for the fossil fuels. Okay. So as on today, children, this is something which you can take home, is that as on today, fossil fuel consumption is far, far greater than renewables and all that. That is the point which is the takeaway from all these slides. Right? Any questions on this? And I include hydroelectric, nuclear, everything in that part. They are very, very insignificant. Right? Now, this is something which is important. In fact, the other question which people have always asked us, how much oil is there? Oil is enough. You know, your lifetime you can spend with the oil which has been already discovered. R-P, what it means is, these oil have been already discovered and there are projects which have been sanctioned to extract that oil. The amount of oil that can be taken out as of today without doing anything, without finding any new oil or without putting new projects under sanction, would last till 47 years. Okay? So don't have to worry that oil is finishing. In fact, the problem today is peak demand, not peak oil. So there is enough, and I am talking about conventional oil. I am not even talking about shale oil. Without that, I am saying that 47 years the world will last with the amount of oil the world has on today, without doing anything. Do nothing. Just sit down and sleep and enjoy. Still it will last for 47 years. That much oil the world has. What has happened is with increasing years, technology has come. Technology improvement has been phenomenal in the last few years. And with that, oil which couldn't have been discovered or oil which could not have been extracted earlier are now possible. That is how the reserves have gone up. And if you see this curve, the reserves every 10 years they have gone up. You see that? So, and this reserves means reserves after taking out the production. So these are the balance of recoverable reserves. So the amount of oil which was there in 1997, today the amount of oil which is there is more. In spite of taking out, today the world's production is around 93 million barrels per day. In spite of taking out that much oil over the years, you still have reserves going up. Clear? That is the kind of oil we have. So if somebody tells you oil will finish, no. The answer is big no. Oil will not finish. It's like the Stone Age. We did not give up Stone Age because stones were finished. Right? We still have stones. But we are not in Stone Age today. Okay? Now let's see the oil prices. This is just one small slide. This is a very complex slide and I am not going to go into details of it. Just one takeaway from this slide is oil prices over the years in the world has varied not because of the price of extracting oil, but because of geopolitical factors. You know, the cost of finding oil or producing oil varies from place to place. Unlike other products, suppose you want to manufacture a tube, the cost would be more or less same all over the world. It won't vary too much. But in case of oil, the variation is phenomenal. Right? Why? Because of the charge. Because of the logistics. Okay. But that does not decide the cost of oil. The cost of oil is decided by whether there is a sanction in Iran, whether there is an Arab-Israel war, or whether there is a sanction against Russia, or whether India and Pakistan are going to fight. That decides the cost of oil. Nothing else decides the cost of oil. So it's basically geopolitical factors which decide the cost The oil prices are a function of that. Okay. Suppose it cools down suddenly more, the oil price will go up. That's how it happens. Now, OPEC, you all know about OPEC, I believe. So OPEC controls most of our oil the world produces, right? Whenever you have excess oil or the price goes down, they cut production. Whenever there is price goes going up more than what they feel is comfortable, they cut down on production. So they play that game continuously, either in opening the tap or closing the tap. So that game is being played, also a function as of geopolitical factors. Okay. Now, say Venezuela. Venezuela is gone, but they have enough oil. Their economy is in doubles. That increases the price. If Venezuela's government comes up and their whole system starts functioning, the oil price will come down. So it's how oil price is so dynamic about other factors, not actually related to the finding and development of producing oil. Okay. Now, US shale oil is a very interesting thing. I'll tell you what shale oil is as we progress. But there was a time in 1970s when one did not know what shale oil was. And there was a geologist, a famous geologist, who said the world is going to finish off and the world will be finished, there will be no oil. But shale oil discovery has changed the whole dynamics. And USA today, as on today, is the highest producer in the world. Even US produces more than Saudi at times. Okay, so the amount of oil that is taken out from shale oil is phenomenal. Okay. Anyway, this happens, keeps on happening. So, gas, now we talk about gas. The gas also, today, as of today, if you don't do anything, just keep quiet and sleep, like sleeping beauty, you still have gas for 52 years. So, the fossil fuel which has been discovered by your earlier generations is enough to sustain you, but you should not sleep, right? And coal is going to last you 150 years without doing anything. So that is the amount of fossil fuel which we have in this world today. So one doesn't need to worry about the availability of fossil fuel. What is the worry and concern is how do you manage your pollution? How do you manage your global temperatures? Because global temperatures are going up and that is very dangerous. As on today, the carbon dioxide probably is higher than 350 ppm, parts per billion. And if it touches 450, you will have major effects. What happens when the temperature, what happens when carbon dioxide goes up? The sea becomes acidic, right? When the sea becomes acidic, the biodiversity which we have in the oceans, that gets lost. Then what is called, there is something called transgression of sea. When the sea temperature goes up, the volumes expand and sea starts encroaching on the land. So a lot of coastal areas will start losing. So all that kind of thing, besides having major storms, tornadoes and all those kind of things. And we are seeing the effect of climate change today because we do see extreme variations in this thing. So that's a fact of life. Whatever Trump might say, the fact is climate is changing. And a lot of it is because of what is called anthropogenic factors, means man-made. Lot of it, right? So that is the area of concern, not something like fossil fuel will finish. There is enough. How do you manage it with a clean way? That is the area of concern, right? This was one slide which I have taken from one of the companies which is called IHS. They were giving a seminar, I was invited, so I said, let me just sum up 2 or 3 things I'll just say. One of the advantages, you see, what we always say, innovation comes when there is a requirement. So this is one slide which explains that. When the oil price came down to say $30 or $40 per barrel, just 2 years ago, then what happened? How did the companies survive and thrive? When the companies are there to make profit. That's a fact of life. No company in this world will like to lose money, right? So how did they survive? They survived by a lot of innovation in terms of services. Because there is a lot of service departments which needs to be there, which is responsible for finding and developing oil. All the engineering work, all the seismic work, all that kind of engineering, the Geoscience part of it, as well as the engineering work, the costs came down because of lots of innovation that were done. Right? So that was the advantage when we had the prices coming down. So because the prices come down, the services had to be, either you stop the business or you continue by lowering the cost. So how do you lower the cost? By innovation, not adopting what was done earlier. Okay, so that's how it is. But again, there's a factor to it. The fact is that you don't cut cost and increase risk of operation. You would have heard of the famous BP's blog. Because oil and gas extraction, discovery, it's a risky business also. It's not a very, cushy job. It's a tough job. So there are risks associated with it. And so don't cut costs to the extent that you will compromise on safety. Keep safety in mind, yet cut costs. That means you need to innovate. You need to do engineering, or you need to do better technology so that you can do the same work with a lesser cost. Right? So that becomes very critical when the cost comes down. So this is the takeaway from this slide. Okay. The other thing that is coming up is that we are, as you see, the energy basket is changing. You saw how the renewables are going up? Okay. Now I'll show you more about that. Now when the basket changes, then it calls for major engineering challenges. Say, for instance, you just take a simple case of automobile. You started off with a petrol car. Then you started having hybrids. So that's an engineering change, right? So that kind of thing will go on and on. Now when you go for electric vehicles, that's again a major engineering change. Is that clear? Any issues on that? Anybody? Okay. Now let us see, this is something very important. This is something which is going to affect you. Till 2040, there have been forecasts by different energy experts all over the world. So what are their forecasts? Let us see. Global energy demand is going to increase by a third. So whatever the demand today is, it's going to increase by 1/3 of it. And why? Why is it going to increase global energy? Because of China and India. You see, we are 1/6 of the world's population, 16 to 17% of the world's population. Till date, we don't consume more than 6% of energy. That is why we say we are still a poor country. So when our development starts, then what happens? Larger number of people will use larger number of electrical appliances. Then larger number of people will use AC. Like when you people study at home, you get an AC. When we study, when we were students, we didn't get AC. So as you grow and develop, you want more comforts. So the energy requirement goes up, right? So when India starts growing at a fast rate, or China starts growing at a fast rate, with our kind of population, the energy demand is going to go up at a very high rate. That is the point which I am trying to make. Okay? The other option is don't develop. But can we afford it? We can't. We have taken a decision not to stay as what we were in the forest, or what is called hunter-gatherers. We've taken the human sapiens as a whole has taken a decision not to be hunter-gatherers, okay, to civilize, whatever we call it, civilization. Okay. So once we have taken the decision, we've got to stick to it. We can't go back now. So we have to develop, and when we develop, we need energy. And that is the kind of energy that is going to increase. Now, how does that energy come from? Are we going to use fossil fuel continuously, or we are going to get into renewables, or we are going to get into clean coal technology? These are areas of concern, right? Yeah. In the world, the demands will generally happen with industry, projects. How do you develop? You don't develop by just talking big thing. You develop by having projects. You develop by having infrastructure development, buildings, different projects one after the other. Okay, that's how you develop. That's why people get employed. Education comes up so that the people have the skills to work in that areas, right? So all they are integrated, right? So this is what demands will be generated by this. And what it's trying to say is sector-wise where the fuel consumption requirements are going to be more. Transport, if you move into electric, the fuel consumptions will be relatively less. That's what it says. And maybe more of public transport will come up. We can't afford that what we are happening now in Delhi. You know, it took me 2.5 hours to drive from my home to this place. This is something which is not correct. Why should I waste 2 hours and so much of petrol? Right? So transport sector is going to have some changes. Power will be going up. Power is just something which will go up as you grow up. What I said is like we didn't get AC when we studied as students. You are getting AC. So that is the kind of difference that's happening, right? Now, renewable energy grows fastest among other fields. That is what is the prediction and that is what has to be done. We need that. The world needs that. Okay, so solar and wind, things like that. We need that. The world needs that, right? Or maybe other forms of renewables, right? The other thing is, it's important to say is, what is predicting is, the demand for oil is going to plateau or peak. So oil demand is going to peak, not oil